This is my 100-mile review of the HOKA Mafate X. Hello and welcome back to the channel. So yeah, another new trail shoe from HOKA, the Mafate X, carbon plated shoe, absolutely tons of foam, built for ultras and rolling trails. This is my 100-mile review. I've used them on the coast around here during my training for my ultra, as well as last weekend's ultra at Hope Trail Festival. And yeah, in this review I'll share my experience, what I think is good about the shoe, what I don't like so much, and how my experience has been with this shoe over the course of the last 4 weeks or so. So just before we get into my thoughts and opinions, some quick specs about the shoe. So we've got this really interesting, we'll get into that later, Vibram outsole. We've got, as I mentioned, a ton of foam here, so it's 49 millimeters of foam at the back. That's some of the thickest and highest stack heights that I've ever come across in a trail shoe, and it drops to 41 mil in the front, so you've got a 8 mil heel to toe drop. And then in the upper you've got this kind of knitted weave fabric, plenty of cushioning around the collar, flat lacing, and a fairly thin lay flat kind of tongue. Now initially I was kind of reticent to buy this shoe after trying Nike's version of their carbon plated trail shoes. I wore those shoes, the Nikes, for a trail marathon and didn't really get on with them. They didn't kind of provide that pop that I was looking for in a carbon plated shoe. Again, quite a bit of foam in them, but yeah, they were just lacking something that I think I could have got from another trail shoe really that maybe didn't have a carbon plate. And I thought the price as well, I think the price for the Nikes were £230. So when I saw these released, £185, that's good. It's like nearly, what is that, nearly £50 less than the Nikes. And then after reading a few reviews, I thought, you know, why not give them a try? On HOKA's website, they say they're literally built for 100 milers. That's what I was training towards. I was looking for a trail shoe for race day that maybe might just give me a little bit of an edge and some comfort for the duration of that run. I've used HOKA trail shoes before. I've generally enjoyed them. So I thought, why not splash out, get a pair of the Mafate X and give them a try. Okay, so things I really enjoyed about this shoe. We'll start with the grip. It's kind of comical in a way, it's kind of cute. You've got these like little triangles that look like pizza slices, and then these tacos that look a little bit like smiley faces. I haven't seen anything like this on a trail shoe before, and actually the grip really works. The Vibram, you know, well trusted. 100 miles in this shoe now and they don't look to be particularly worn. At the weekend I was wearing them on some really dry, pretty gritty and hard trails, and if you were going to see some wear after sort of, you know, 30 miles on those trails, you're going to see them on the bottom of this shoe. But other than in a couple of patches, they're holding up really well. And the grip inspired a lot of confidence on some really steep downhills. So as I say, I've been training on the coast, incredibly steep downhills, some really technical sections, and at the trail festival as well at the weekend. There's some decent descents there too, and not once did I worry about this grip. I never slipped on like gritty, gravelly stuff. But I'd say it's definitely a shoe for sort of summer, early autumn, spring trails where the ground's quite dry and it isn't too kind of like wet, slippery, heavy mud. This grip isn't cut out for that. It's not designed for that, but for summer trails, it's perfect. Just one more thing about the grip. You've got all of these sort of cutouts and things in the foam. Kind of reminds me of some of like the shoes, on running shoes, where they have those little cutouts that always trap stones and things. I didn't find that with these shoes, so again over the weekend, lots of gravelly, lots of little stony bits, and I thought maybe we'd pick up a stone or two in here, but no, absolutely not. So onto the midsole then, we've got this like 3-layered thing going on here. We've got a sort of firmer base, quite wide base of foam. Then we've got the forked carbon plate, and then we've got this softer, different kind of foam that sits just underneath your foot to give yourself a bit of cushioning and a bit of a plush ride. I enjoyed the ride in this shoe. It's very comfortable underfoot. As I say, I ran for about 5 hours in this shoe before changing them out on Saturday. I've ran for 5 hours on the coast with no major issues, and despite the shoe having a 49mm stack height, the ride was actually really stable, even on uneven technical terrain. If you hit a kind of rock on the sort of, you know, the sharp edge, the pinnacle where your foot might roll, this shoe just kind of absorbs that and allows you to stay stable without twisting your ankle. I had some really technical terrain to get across on Saturday. It was only a couple of times in the length of the sort of 4 or 5 hours that I wore them for that my heel just went like that a little bit. So I think that's pretty good going. It's more down to my sort of foot placement and being tired than the shoe itself. And for a shoe that's this built up and high, that's pretty good going. In terms of the carbon fibre plate, you can feel that pop, especially on more road-like trail surfaces. On more technical stuff, you don't really feel it, but when you're going a little bit faster, you can kind of feel that pop kick in. And then I think for the recovery as well, your legs just don't feel quite as tired in the days after a long run wearing this shoe out on the trails. The toe protection on this shoe is also brilliant. So I kicked a number of roots and rocks on Saturday, didn't feel them at all in this shoe. And then when I swapped them out for a road shoe, did the same thing, tripped a couple of times, and you can really feel that lack of toe protection in the road shoe. So if you're someone a bit like me, gets a bit clumsy out on the trail, kicks a few roots every now and then, this toe protection's got you covered. And the upper as well, it's very comfortable, kind of hugs your foot, there's plenty of room in that toe box. Feels breathable and fairly lightweight, and again, after 100 miles, as you'd expect, really no signs of wear, so I've no worries about this upper being nice and durable. Got this nice like heel counter at the back with the Mafate X branding on. That just gives your heel a bit of stability. Again, feels great. No sort of ankle or any rolling going on there. Okay, so those are the things that I like about the shoe. The grip's fantastic. The 3-layered midsole gives you that little bit of pop on faster ground. Very well cushioned and a nice wide supportive base. The upper feels bomb-proof, and that toe protection as well is going to save your feet when you bash a few roots and rocks. Now onto the things that I don't like, or I think could be improved in the next version of this shoe, and it's definitely, to start off with, the weight. So these are coming in my size 7.5, UK 7.5. These are coming in at about 320 grams, which is heavy, even for a trail shoe. Now I know this is built up, it's got that carbon fibre plate in there. There's a lot going on in this shoe in terms of foam and extra stability and support and everything else. But you really do feel these on your feet. Now, the ride itself is fine. I think because of that propulsion, they don't feel like you're wearing clogs as you would, I think, if a road shoe was this weight. So that is a bit of a saving grace. But halfway through my ultra at the weekend, I swapped these out for a pair of lighter road shoes that come in at around about 250 grams, and the difference was night and day, particularly in those sort of later stages of an ultra where your legs are getting tired, you can't lift your legs quite as high. Putting on lighter shoes really made a kind of mental difference and just gave me a bit of extra pop. So if there was some way of keeping the cushioning, keeping that carbon fibre plate, as well as maybe that stack height, all the things that make the shoe good, but somehow making it lighter, I think HOKA would be onto a real winner. Then the other downside for me in this shoe is that the lockdown is a little bit sloppy, particularly if you just use the sort of standard lacing out of the box. Just as you're running, you just feel a bit of heel slipping. It's not massive, but it did sort of make me use this sort of this runner's kind of tie down, and it just makes it trickier to tie up because there isn't a lot of lacing. You want it to be wide around the sort of on top of the foot, just to let them kind of breathe. And yes, so using this helped a little bit, but it wasn't perfect still. So a little redesign of this collar, I think, to make it just help out with the lockdown would be a good idea. Those are really the only two downsides that I found to this shoe. It's just a little bit heavy, and that lockdown could be a bit better. When would I wear these shoes? Well, definitely in the spring, summer months on nice sort of fire roady kind of trails where there isn't too many technical sections. They can handle technical stuff, but they just are more at home. You feel that carbon fiber plate on those kind of flatter, wider, smoother surfaces rather than kind of rooty, rocky technical stuff. I definitely would not be wearing this in the winter unless we had a particularly dry one. It's just not going to handle the wet mud and slick rocks and things like that. I also think it would get pretty heavy if the shoe gets wet. It is supposed to be drainable. I haven't been able to test its abilities in the wet. We just haven't had that much wet weather, which is unusual for us in the UK. And after wearing it in an ultra at the weekend in a race, they would definitely be on my shortlist of shoes to run in again. They were definitely more comfortable than the Challenger 7. I'd say it's possibly be a toss-up between this one and the Speed Goat as to which one I would go for next year. The Speed Goat's obviously a bit lighter, still has all of that cushioning and plushness and a really solid ride. Just a little bit lighter, might be easier over the course of a long ultra. If it wasn't for the price, I think they would make a really good training shoe because of that sort of extra added recovery benefit from the carbon fiber plate. But yeah, £185 is a bit steep. Comparatively to the Nike, £50 cheaper, and I think this one is a much better shoe. So if you look at it that way, then it's more affordable. I know all running shoes are getting a bit expensive now, but £185 does seem a bit steep. And then overall, in terms of the design of the shoe, I think it's a good looking shoe. I like the way they've brought the upper design down into a part of the midsole. Just helps to make it look not quite so high and thick. And I think this colorway does look pretty decent. It's the only colorway at the moment. I'm sure that will change. But yeah, you can't really go wrong with an orange, yellow and blue mix up like that. I think it looks, it's a pretty smart looking shoe. So yeah, I would say if you were intrigued by the Nike Ultrafly, but put off by the price, check out the HOKA Mafate X. Definitely well worth trying, particularly if you're into trail ultras where there's a lot of like fire roads and a lot of kind of smooth rolling surfaces. Well worth a look. They are a comfortable shoe. They're very capable. I just wish they could be a little bit lighter. Right, that's my review of the HOKA Mafate X. If you enjoyed this review and you've made it this far to the video, please hit that like and subscribe button. And till the next one, be the best you.